the mystery theory. Today's video is going to be a different one because it's going to be the beginning of a series of shorter stories, and I will have them all in a playlist, so hopefully that way it will be easier for you to find in the channel. I got a few comments saying that they can't really get to the end of the video, and that they would love to see, some people mentioned that they would love to see shorter videos, so I decided why not share some of those interesting cases that are shorter, or that I can give a lot of information in a shorter period of time, and that they are still interesting enough and part of this true crime ASMR thing that I'm trying to share with you guys every week. This is an ASMR true crime channel. If you do not care for that combination, please just exit out of this video. If you don't like ASMR mixed with true crime, but you enjoy true crime, I have a podcast, and I will have that in the comments, pinned to the top of the comments down below if you're interested in checking that out. I have different cases that I do not share here on YouTube, so maybe if you want extra content and you still enjoy ASMR but want to hear it in a different format, then maybe you want to check it out and leave a review, so that way the podcast can start to show a little bit more closer to the top of the list, to be easier to search for. And again, the name of the podcast is like this channel, The Mystery Theory. Now, this story took place in London, England. By the way, I was going to go for a school thing in around 1999. I never ended up going, so I regret not going to London, but this case took place there. But it was later on, it was in 2013, and actually it was in April of 2013. Apparently this guy came into the police station. This guy's name was Mikhail, I think. That's how they pronounced it. And Mikhail Ward walks into this London police station, and he says that he was hired to kill a man. And the name of the man was Andrew, and that the guy was an interior decorator. He also tells the police that he accepted the job because he owed money to this man, and told him that if he killed this other guy, Andrew, he was going to forgive his debt, or basically they were going to get some kind of money that would pay for his debt. So it was a murder for hire plot, as they call it. The police didn't have that much to go with because they didn't even know the last name of this guy, Andrew. But they investigated according to all the information, with all the information that this guy, Mikhail, gave to the police. And they find out that this man's boss, and the one that he owed the money to, it was Darren Wilson. And yes, that in fact this guy, Mikhail, owed him money. Now, I don't know how the police found out that he owed him money, but apparently they did. The victim's full name, or the guy that he was hired to kill, was Andrew Burr. And the idea of how to kill this guy was that he was going to go and show him an apartment decorated. Remember that Andrew was an interior decorator, and the idea that he was going to lure him there and then kill him. Andrew was a married man, and his wife's name was Lisa. And apparently they didn't have a great relationship according to the interviews and different things that I've watched. She described him as very abusive and also physically abusive. They had children of their own, and they also foster some kids, so I don't know how they managed, but apparently they tried to get along for the family, but they had a really, really bad relationship of a lot of abuse, where Lisa claims that she was getting into these arguments that they ended up being very physical. The problem, according to Andrew, is that she was a shopaholic, in that they were deep into debt. At the time, apparently, they had fights because she bought a lot of things, and she was not able to pay the bills when they came, so she would try to scheme her way into paying them in a way that she was kind of up to date with her payments, but at the same time she was kind of getting money from other places to try to cover one hole by making another one, basically. He hated that lifestyle, and that's why they argue all the time. Now Lisa, at the time, which I found a little bit interesting, she suggested, while they were going through all these money problems, is that Andrew get a life insurance policy. He even called the agency where he was getting the quote and the policy from, and while he was talking on the phone, he even joked to this guy that was selling the insurance and said, "I am getting this insurance because my wife is trying to get me killed." And he laughed. And so that is a little bit of a background of who was this guy Andrew and his wife. And again, the guy that was initially hired to kill Andrew was the one that went to the police station. So the police decided to check on this guy Andrew. He is alive and well. And when they bring them to the police station for questioning, Lisa denies knowing anything about it. She admits that she knows Darren, but only because she fosters his son. Remember that Darren was the guy that initially asked Mikhail to kill Andrew. He was the one that was behind it. He was the one that this other guy owed money to. And apparently Lisa was the one that was fostering his son. Darren, that same guy, apparently was very dangerous, and he was involved in drugs and other crimes. They also say that he knew how to pressure people into doing things that he wanted. So he was very well known by the police because he had a record, and he apparently couldn't stay away from trouble for long enough. The police didn't buy the story that Lisa was selling them, because when they investigated this guy Darren, they realized that Darren had some kind of a relationship with Lisa, maybe even an affair. And even Darren, when he was questioned, he confessed that they had an affair. The police also found out that she would go to Darren to tell him how her husband abused her, how he had a life insurance policy, and how she wished that he would disappear. So basically she was going to her lover to complain husband, knowing that this guy was somebody very dangerous. Yeah, the police didn't buy it. So the police put two and two together and realized that there was even more to the story. Apparently, this guy Darren was using Mikhail because he wanted to get rid of Andrew, not because he loved Lisa and wanted to get rid of the mean and very, I don't know, problematic husband, but because he wanted to manipulate Lisa into giving him the money. According to the police, he had a long history of girlfriends that he was taking advantage of for their money. So the police at this point had enough to charge Lisa for plotting the murder of her husband. At the same time, this guy, Mikhail, the one that went to the police station, and Darren, the one that sent Mikhail to kill Andrew, they also got arrested and went to trial. They have a very strong case, but as one of the blogs that I read about, it was a strong case, but it's finally up to the jury. And since the jury is a bunch of people, you never know how it's gonna go. So the jury ended up seeing Lisa as a victim and decided that she didn't know that Darren was planning to kill her husband, so she was acquitted of the crime. Mikhail and Darren didn't have the same luck. They were convicted for plotting the murder of Andrew. Darren never tried to blame Lisa and takes the fall, so maybe he did decide to kill Andrew without telling Lisa. But it's something that we'll never know because everything points to, or the evidence points to, the idea that Lisa was the one who was suggesting that, and that there was think about it, there wasn't other way that Darren would have known that he had a $750,000 policy and that she was going to get it. Now, the funny and sad part about this story is that during the trial, they find out that the insurance money was a lie, because Andrew did want to get it, but he apparently he didn't have the money to get it then, and he never bought it. So this little plot that included the three main suspects here, it was all for nothing, because even if they got rid of this guy Andrew, if Mikhail didn't have the conscience to go and confess to the police before doing something like that, Lisa would have stayed with no money and a bunch of kids to feed. It's just one of those things that you're like, is this real? Is this almost murder real? Or is this a bunch of knuckleheads that plan a plot that they weren't even sure? Because Lisa, she swore that Andrew had that policy. So is this a bunch of knuckleheads who thought that they were smarter, but they didn't know that they really weren't? Now Lisa today is, she described herself in one of the little pieces of an interview that I saw from a documentary. She claims that she's broken even more than before, because now she lost custody to her kids to Andrew, her ex-husband now. And the people in her community sees her as the mastermind kids for the money. That was part of the scheme that she had going on, and I'm just quote unquote scheme that most blogs refer to. She was basically getting these kids just for the money. Not because she was a devoted mother, but because she owed too much money and she thought that was going to be the only way that she would get it. Enough to pay at least the minimums. So now she lost that ability as well. Now on the other side, Darren Wilson was sentenced to 4 years for his role in the murder for hire plot of Andrew. And because he confessed, Miguel got only 2 years. This could have been worse. This is the cautionary tale that, I mean, for them, the people involved, it was sad. But at the same time, I feel like this is the kind of story that teaches us a lesson without having to go through the sadness and of a death. Thankfully, this was a cautionary tale because Andrew is alive and he's still enjoying his kids. And they finally got the divorce, which is what I think they needed to do in the first place if they were fighting so much. And I do not believe in divorce, but I do not believe that you should be miserable either. If you're miserable, then that's the sign that you need to do something about it. And divorce sounds much better than this plot with a bunch of interesting characters involved. They had no idea that he had no insurance money. They have no idea. I mean, she could have asked him. She could. Maybe she didn't. And maybe she suggested it, hoping that he did it. But she didn't know exactly who was going to do it. What I'm saying here is, at least in this case, the people that plan to do this went to jail 4 years, 2 years, whatever it is. But maybe they got, or they learned a lesson that they could move on from instead of, something that happened and there's no going back. And maybe they, even the mother got her lesson learned with all this. Sometimes, not sometimes, always, it's better to have less stuff, but have your family together. It's always a better idea. It doesn't matter how much stuff you have if you have nobody to share it with. She's a single woman now. She can go to work. She can find 5 jobs and get the money and go and continue to shop her way through life. But I think that one way or another, now she sees the value of having a family, and that maybe that should have been her first, her priority should have been the family, or at least her kids, if they weren't getting along. And now she lost that part too. Now she has the freedom to work, but maybe she doesn't feel like she needs to shop that much as before. I wish all true crime cases were as easy as this one. Things that almost happened but didn't. Because somebody has a conscience. And even though he did go to jail, it was only for 2 years. But he prevented a much worse thing. It's one of those cases that, again, I wish that there were more of this and not so many with the very sad endings. Yeah, it was sad for her. It was sad for the guy guys that ended up in jail. But this is a small price to pay for something that could have been much worse. So I hope that you truly enjoyed this video because, again, it's a cautionary tale. It's a what if, and it ended up being not as bad as the usual true crime case. Maybe a little bit lighthearted for the weekend. Again, if you want to check out more content, I'll have the podcast and my Patreon page below. Thank you so much for your support. It really means the world to me. And hopefully I will see you back on Monday with a new true crime case. And if you are part of my Patreon page and you are part of the mysterious supporter part of my Patreon or tier, then this weekend you'll have a new case to look forward to. I'll see you on my next